The night sky over the Ukrainian port city glowed an angry red. Explosions ripped through the air, sending plumes of smoke and debris high above the cityscape. The acrid smell of burning fuel and concrete filled the air, a grim testament to the destructive power unleashed upon this vital hub of commerce and life. The attack, swift and brutal, targeted key infrastructure, crippling the city's ability to function and sowing terror among its beleaguered residents. Homes were reduced to rubble, businesses shattered, and lives tragically cut short. The attack served as a stark reminder of the human cost of a conflict that continues to escalate with each passing day. The attack on the port city represents a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. The targeting of civilian infrastructure underscores the increasingly indiscriminate nature of the violence, raising concerns among international observers about potential war crimes. The attack has drawn widespread condemnation from the global community, with many world leaders calling for an immediate ceasefire and a return to diplomatic negotiations. The city, once a bustling hub of maritime trade, now resembles a scene from a dystopian nightmare. The streets are eerily deserted, save for the occasional stray dog picking its way through the rubble. Those residents who remain huddle in basements and makeshift shelters, their faces etched with fear and uncertainty. The attack has shattered any semblance of normalcy, leaving behind a trail of physical and psychological devastation. As dawn breaks over the ravaged cityscape, the true extent of the devastation becomes horrifyingly clear. Rescue workers, their faces grim with exhaustion, pick through the debris, searching for survivors amidst the twisted metal and shattered concrete. The air is thick with the smell of death, a grim reminder of the human cost of this senseless conflict. The attack on the port city is a tragedy not only for Ukraine, but for all who value peace and stability in the region and beyond. The current conflict, though reaching a fever pitch in recent days, is not a sudden eruption, but rather the culmination of years of simmering tensions between Russia and Ukraine. The seeds of discord were sown in 2014 when Russia annexed the Crimean Peninsula, a Ukrainian territory with a predominantly Russian-speaking population. This annexation, widely condemned by the international community as a violation of Ukraine's sovereignty, marked a turning point in relations between the two countries. Following the annexation of Crimea, pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine, allegedly backed by Moscow, launched an armed insurgency against the Ukrainian government. This conflict, concentrated in the Donbas region, has claimed the lives of thousands of civilians and displaced millions more, creating a humanitarian crisis in the heart of Europe. Despite multiple attempts at a ceasefire, the fighting has continued intermittently, punctuated by periods of relative calm and renewed violence. The current escalation of the conflict, marked by Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, represents a dangerous new chapter in this protracted crisis. Moscow's stated goals, which include the demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine, have been met with skepticism and condemnation by the international community, which views them as a pretext for an unjustified war of aggression. The invasion has triggered a wave of sanctions against Russia, crippling its economy and isolating it from the global financial system. The invasion has also sparked a humanitarian crisis of unprecedented proportions, with millions of Ukrainians fleeing their homes in search of safety and security. Neighboring countries, particularly Poland, have borne the brunt of this exodus, struggling to accommodate the influx of refugees. The United Nations has warned of a looming humanitarian catastrophe, with shortages of food, water, and medical supplies threatening the lives of millions of Ukrainians caught in the crossfire. Amidst the escalating violence and international condemnation, former U.S. President Donald Trump has struck a surprisingly optimistic tone regarding the prospects for peace in Ukraine. Speaking at a recent rally, Trump expressed confidence that a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine could be reached very easily if he were still in office. He attributed his purported ability to broker such a deal to his strong relationships with both Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump's comments have been met with a mixture of skepticism and derision from foreign policy experts and political commentators. Critics point to his track record of cozying up to authoritarian leaders and his administration's often incoherent approach to foreign policy as evidence that his optimism is misplaced. They argue that Trump's transactional view of international relations, based on personal relationships and self-interest, is ill-suited to addressing the complex geopolitical realities of the conflict in Ukraine. Moreover, Trump's own actions during his presidency have been cited as contributing to the current crisis. His decision to withhold military aid to Ukraine in 2019, while pressuring Zelensky to investigate his political rival Joe Biden, was widely seen as undermining Ukrainian security and emboldening Russia. This episode, which led to Trump's first impeachment, cast a long shadow over US-Ukraine relations and raised doubts about America's commitment to its allies in the region. Despite the skepticism surrounding his claims, Trump's optimistic pronouncements have resonated with some segments of the American public, particularly those who are weary of foreign entanglements and critical of the Biden administration's handling of the crisis. However, it remains to be seen whether Trump's brand of personal diplomacy, characterized by bombast and unpredictability, can offer a viable path to peace in Ukraine. The path to peace in Ukraine is fraught with obstacles, but the pursuit of a diplomatic solution remains the only responsible course of action. The human cost of the conflict, already staggering, continues to mount with each passing day. The international community must remain united in its condemnation of Russia's aggression and its support for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The immediate priority must be to alleviate the suffering of Ukrainian civilians caught in the crossfire. Humanitarian aid must be allowed to reach those in need, regardless of their location or political affiliation. Neighboring countries, already bearing the brunt of the refugee crisis, require international assistance to provide food, shelter, and medical care to those fleeing the violence. In the longer term, a sustainable peace in Ukraine will require addressing the underlying issues that have fueled the conflict. This includes finding a way to guarantee Ukraine's security without compromising Russia's legitimate security concerns. It also entails addressing the issue of Ukraine's neutral status, a key demand of Moscow, which views NATO expansion as a threat to its security. Ultimately, a lasting solution to the conflict will require a fundamental shift in the dynamics of the relationship between Russia and the West. This will require both sides to abandon the zero-sum mentality that has characterized their interactions for too long and embrace a more cooperative approach based on mutual respect and shared interests. The road to peace in Ukraine will be long and arduous, but the pursuit of this goal is essential not only for the future of Ukraine but for the stability and security of Europe and the world.